Tarik Skubal dominates. Kerry Carpenter is a superhero. And the Detroit Tigers tie the ALDS at 1 game apiece. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. And if you're from out of town, book a trip to the city of Detroit, where we are getting 2 playoff games guaranteed at Comerica Park. I don't even know what to do with my hands. I am flabbergasted. This team is just unbelievable. And that I mean that by the truest sense of the word. They defy belief over and over and over again. It's a 1-1 series. The Tigers win 3-0. They now have home field advantage in the final 3 games. What went right? We're not burying the lead. Kerry Carpenter. 111 miles an hour off the bat. A 423-foot bomb to right field. An absolute no-doubter off of the best reliever in the sport. It was also a fantastic at-bat against, as I already mentioned, elite pitching. Took a couple of cutters outside that they wanted to go backdoor on, did not find any part of the zone, was fouling off sliders consistently. I thought that he was going into that, and as the at-bat got later and later, that he was like, I'm just going to foul off sliders and try to get a hold of a cutter. No. We're going to try to get him to throw as many sliders as possible and just survive against the cutters. And then hit an absolute bomb to right field. Kerry Carpenter is unbelievable. His entire story is remarkable. And yesterday, literally on yesterday's show, I was talking about how he had struggled lately against high fastballs and that he was still the best hitter on the team. And I still wanted him to get more at-bats than anybody on the team, but that he was swinging and missing at a lot of high fastballs. What a moron that dude was 24 hours ago. And I know that that's really easy to say after the home run happened, right? After the biggest moment in the last decade of Tigers baseball just happened. And he has been swinging and missing at high fastballs lately, but who cares? Like, at the end of the day, he is easily this team's best hitter against right-handed pitching. And it's not particularly close. There's no one else even in the same stratosphere as Kerry Carpenter is against right-handed pitching when it comes to ability to hit on this entire team, in this entire organization. And he has been all year. He doesn't strike out a ridiculous amount, right? Over the season, he struck out a little bit more than average, but he's not like like some of those Joey Gallo types who just strike out 40+%, whatever of the time. He is who you want up in every single situation when a righty pitcher is on the mound. So this is my formal apology, I guess I'll say, for being a complete moron yesterday. Kerry Carpenter is the man. And if he hunts high fastballs every once in a while, then so be it. Who cares? Because he can do that. And it's incredible to me, and this is my favorite part about Kerry Carpenter, is that every single time some part of his game is criticized, it is something that he ends up fixing in the long run. When he first got called up, it was this dude can't hit breaking balls. He just crushes fastballs. And everybody started giving him the Nick Maton treatment and just started throwing him only breaking balls. And then he adjusted and started crushing breaking balls. And it was okay. Well, he can't actually field, though. So how his value is limited. He's not a gold glover. He's never going to win a gold glove out there. He's a plus arm net zero corner outfielder. High heat. You know, for everything I just said, right? It's still something that I think he needs to work on. At the end of the day, he did take a high fastball in this game. And guess what? He did not see one then the rest of the game. He spit on one early, right when he was pinch hit for and inserted into the game. Check swing, held up, didn't see one the rest of the outing. Kerry Carpenter freaking rocks. And he's everything that is beautiful about this sport and everything that is going right for this organization on the offensive side of the ball. This was a prospect that nobody gave the time of day and nobody paid attention to in like prospect rankings or was talking about building around when he got to the major leagues. And now he has an OPS over 900 and is the biggest threat in this lineup every single time he is in the lineup. Kerry Carpenter freaking rocks. Like I said, he did lay off a high fastball in this game, which was also awesome. I celebrated that, not even close to as hard as the home run, but I celebrated that very, very hard as if he had hit a home run as well. I think this was also, like, when you got to that situation, the thing that I think was most fascinating about that moment and the theatrics surrounding the home run was that this fell exactly how AJ dreamt it to fall, right? Clase's up. Who do we want up in our entire clubhouse? Who do we want up in a spot in which there's two men on, two out, and the best closer, the best reliever the entire sport has to offer? Who's the one guy you want up? He's a righty reliever, right? You want Kerry Carpenter up. And that is exactly why AJ Hinch hit Justin Henry Malloy leadoff. Said, I'm going to put him leadoff, and he had a great game. We'll talk about him in a second as well. I'm going to bat him leadoff, and the second a righty comes into the game, Kerry Carpenter is now my leadoff hitter, which means he gets more at-bats than everybody else in the lineup. Everything was to a T. Everything was magnificent. Great pulling of the strings by AJ. Carpenter also, this team was 0 for 7 with RISP going into that AB. He has an OPS over 900 and a batting average over 290 with runners in scoring position on the season. He's magnificent. It was an unbelievable at-bat. I have rewatched it at least 50 times already. I literally sat there. We have YouTube TV. So I literally sat there and just rewound. I watched it. I watched the inning end. I watched up until Matt Vierling got the infield single, and then I rewound. Or until they pulled Clase, which is the same moment. Then I rewound, and then I rewound, and then I rewound. Seeing Tigers fans lose their minds by themselves in a silent, progressive field, too, was just so awesome. And now, let's come back to the crib, baby. Let's come home. What a game. What a player Kerry Carpenter is. What a game this was. The other star of the show that should not be overlooked at all, and is just a big of a reason as to why the Tigers won this ball game, was the future unanimous AL Cy Young winner, Tarik Skubal. We'll talk about him right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Booking.com. Yeah, you want to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. We just talked about the fact that Cleveland's that's a heated rival, right? Michigan, Ohio, Guardians, Tigers, long-standing rivals. And you get them in the playoffs. There's 3 games, hopefully only 2 if the Tigers win both games in Comerica Park. There's potentially 3 games in Cleveland for you to go root on the Tigers. That we talked about all of the great Tigers fans that were getting rowdy there and talking some smack to all of the Guardians fans at Progressive after the Carpenter home run. You can be one of those fans with the help of Booking.com. Great bed and breakfast, hotels, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more. you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival's city. It is the best place to find the best place to stay at any U.S. city. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, booking.yeah. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. I appreciate you all greatly. We will, of course, be back tomorrow taking a look ahead and talking about the rest of the American League Division Series, what to expect there, what to expect when the Tigers come home on Wednesday and Thursday night. Also, be sure to check out Jake Rietma for the Locked On Tigers postcast immediately following every Tigers game. What a stressful baseball game this was. So we spent the entire first segment talking about Kerry Carpenter. We can spend the entire second segment, rather, talking about Tarik Skubal. 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 8 strikeouts. He had 15 swings and misses and 2 of the biggest double plays you will ever see. He was talking smack to, I feel like I've said talking smack about 50 times. I would use a different phrase, but we're a family-friendly program here. He was talking that talk to all of Progressive Field. Got off the mound the first time with the double play, was screaming, yelled to shut the heck up in nicer terms, and then got off the mound the second time on the double play. I don't know how they turned that. I don't know. Fantastic defense. We'll talk about that in a second too. And walks off the mound and does like the come get some, like, you know where to find me, chin and head held high. He's a dog. For my money, he is the best pitcher alive. And is there some bias in there? Absolutely. I think he's the best pitcher breathing on planet Earth right now. And I think what made him so great in this game specifically was the fastball command. This is a guy that has an elite changeup. He's got an incredible slider, and he's got a keep you honest curveball to be, thrown into that mix as well. All of which are nearly unhittable when they're located correctly. But they're even more unhittable when they are set up with 97 to 100 on the black, and that is what he was offering. This, I'm not kidding. This is really saying something given the type of season that he has had. That may have been the best fastball command I've ever seen him have. Every single quadrant he was spot on with. Righty lefty he was spot on with. Glove side, arm side he was spot on with, no matter where he was placing it. Steven Kwan doesn't strike out ever. He struck out looking on the first AB of the game on 98 dotted on the black, low and away to him. He also struck out again in the 9th inning via Bo Brisky on the same thing. So it was absolutely incredible. And I think that that fastball command really was what made him so unbelievable in this game. But he's unbelievable pretty much every time he takes the mound. His ERA in the entire postseason is 0. He's made 2 starts in the playoffs and has yet to give up a single run. And you know what the beautiful thing about that is that even if you split at home, which I think probably would be viewed as a disappointment, given the fact that Bybee is behind you and whatnot, and you've done so well with bullpen games. We'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. Even if you do split at home, Tarik Skubal is the Game 5 starter. He has a 0 ERA. That's pretty nice to have as a safety in case of emergency, break glass type of scenario. Okay, it ends up going 5. We don't win both at home. Tarik Skubal Game 5. Have fun. Unbelievable stuff. Justin Henry Malloy, I thought, had a fantastic day. He hit leadoff in this game. We talked about already why, kind of what AJ's mindset was. He wanted to give Kerry as many ABs as possible. And Malloy has hit lefties really well and had 2 hits in this ball game. Was fantastic. Looked a little bit overwhelmed, I think, in the first AB, but recovered really nicely. Was just focusing on putting the bat on the ball. And did that really well. Went the opposite way once. Now got thrown out at second. I saw a lot of frustration with getting thrown out at second. That was a perfect throw. That was a seed. Okay, you're putting the pressure on the defense. We have talked about this so much on this show. If you're a listener of this show, I feel like you're I'm somewhat confident that you are knowing of the Tigers' aggressive base running and why they do it and whatnot, because we've talked about it at length on this show. And yeah, that's just what that was. It giveth and it taketh away. You force the defense to make a perfect throw to get you out. Sometimes they're Major League Baseball players. Sometimes they're going to make perfect throws. You're getting shut out and couldn't hit for anything. I don't mind the send, to be completely honest with you. And it's a lot easier for me to say that now that they ended up winning anyway, but I really didn't mind it in the moment either. Matt Vierling, fantastic ball game. Got on base 4 times. Was really him and Malloy seemed to be the only two guys that were seeing rather Matthew Boyd decently well. Trey Sweeney with a huge hit in the 9th inning. That was led to the moment, right? You have a rookie that's been in the majors for less than 2 months, and he goes up there against the best reliever in the sport, and it hits a ball, ropes a ball into the gap. I thought that was very, very impressive. And then Winfield Perez with a really impressive AB off of Clase in the 8th inning as well. Obviously, the dramatics and the controversy around the catch or not. We'll talk about that when we get to stuff here at the end of the show. But I thought that was a really good AB, right? That's an 100-mile-an-hour cutter and a 93-mile-an-hour, 94-mile-an-hour slider, man. Like Winfield Perez is not the most talented hitter in the lineup, but one thing I know, no matter what, is it could be the most intense situation any hitter has ever been in the history of the game of baseball. And Winfield Perez is going to be cool and calm and collected, and he's going to be ready. And is he going to come through every single time? No, but nerves are never going to get to him, and he's always going to put together a professional at bat. And that's one of the reasons that I absolutely adore him. And then the bullpen, heroics yet again. Lost in this was a team shutout in this ball game for the Tigers, right? We already talked about Skubal and how he's the baddest dude on the planet. Will Vest continues his otherworldly dominance. Well, I was going to say in the postseason, we joke on this show, since the birth of his second child, he has been pretty much unhittable. And that trend continues. That fastball continues to eat hitters up, and nobody has had success off of it. He still has not allowed hard contact off of his fastball seemingly all year. And then Bo Brisky, man, this needs to be talked about way more. This dude also has a 0 ERA in the postseason and has arguably been on the mound for every single one of the most stressful and high leverage situations the Tigers have been in for the entire postseason. And he's come out on top every single time. Had 2 strikeouts in this outing in his 1 inning of work. His second save of the postseason. AJ Hinch had a quote where he said every single reliever is used to being in high leverage, and they need to be ready in high leverage. And he said, we will go to anybody type of thing. And then he said, yeah, we're going to have our back against the wall sometimes, or we're going to be put into some really bad situations late in games. That's why we have Bo Brisky. Bo Brisky, everything I just described about Winfield Perez is exactly regurgitated how I feel about Bo Brisky. This dude could be bases loaded, no outs, tie game, bottom of the 9th World Series, and he would look the exact same on the mound as he does as a starter for a Tuesday game for a 90-loss team in August. Love him. Absolutely love him. The defense I thought was really great in this ball game as well. Parker Meadows with a fantastic catch in center field, but also honestly had multiple catches that he just made look so easy. I like that the broadcast is calling him a gazelle as often as they are. Like, yeah, that's what we've been calling him for about 1.5 years now. And then Trey Sweeney on the double play, man, fantastic to go in, get that ball, start the turn. Colt Keith was with a good relay. And here we are talking about a 3-0 victory for your Detroit Tigers. Let's talk about what went wrong and then stuff. We will do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start your season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place all of your bets. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel. Also got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the best, and they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff so that they only show you the incredible deals on great seats that you want, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They have so many great features, to be completely honest with you. Seat views, you get a panoramic view of your seat on the app before you buy it. The lowest price guarantee Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And of course, Game Time ticket coverage, where your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always. So we are talking about what went wrong in this game. This was not sunshine and rainbows. This was a lot of frustration for 8 innings that then broke through. And I do not want that to get lost in translation here. This was a rough ball game offensively for 8 innings. Really, really rough. For 8 and 2/3 innings. Really brutal. The offense went 1 for 8 with RISP on the game. They went 0 for 7 sans the Carp home run, obviously. Riley Green continues to have a really brutal postseason. He has not done a lot at the plate, and I'm hoping that this reverse jinx thing I have going on in the postseason can kind of continue with him. But my goodness, he has really struggled there at the plate. Torkelson, really brutal day yet again. That's a few in a row at the plate for him. Parker Meadows, as much as I love the dude and I call him Superman, he is Superman, had a really rough AB with runners in scoring position in this game. Jake Rogers had a really rough AB with runners in scoring position in this game. Colt Keith had one of the most uncompetitive at-bats I've seen from a Tiger this entire postseason there late in the ballgame with the game on the line. And ultimately, it just goes back to, yesterday we talked so much about how this team that you're playing in Cleveland is so good out of their bullpen that you need to attack the starting pitching. That is how you beat the Guardians. That is how they lost games down the stretch. That is how you beat them. You score early, and then you hold on because relievers can't score runs. And Matthew Boyd sliced and diced you. 4 2/3, 4 hits, nowhere in runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. With their bullpen, you just can't afford to consistently do that. Well, I guess because we have Skubal, you kind of can. Apparently, you can't afford to do it, I guess. They did win the ballgame, but you get what I'm trying to say here. I think the most frustrating part is they were working counts against Boyd. Like, he was very inefficient. He had a high pitch count, didn't even go 5 innings, but they just couldn't do damage on the balls that were over the heart of the plate. They were getting on base. 6 base runners and 4 2/3 isn't a great day at the office either. But a lot of those base runners were with 2 outs, just like couldn't get a rally together, couldn't get anybody out on the base paths early, and they kept falling short. He had as many whiffs as Skubal did in this ballgame. Tarik Skubal had 15 swings and misses. Matthew Boyd had 15 swings and misses in 4 2/3. That just cannot happen. And I think the biggest reason for that, credit where credit is due, this dude has he always had the changeup, but he didn't really throw it in Detroit. He wasn't a big fan of using his changeup, and that was the cause for a lot of frustration here on this program. If you're a longtime listener, he was using it today, and it was a really, really good pitch. And tip of the cap to Matthew Boyd, one of the best human beings this sport has to offer. This career resurgence that he's had and this great season he's had in Cleveland is awesome to see from a fan base that will always love and adore him. But, maybe we can hit him around a little bit more. He also gave up a lot of homers in Detroit. And if we can maybe make that happen next time he goes out for Cleveland, that would be much appreciated. Let's talk stuff. So we're going to start off with the biggest talking point, sans the Carpenter homer in this game. And that was just, did Stephen Kwan catch the ball? I'm so glad we won this ball game because I can say this with a lot less stress and with a lot less anxiety surrounding people like getting angry at what I have to say here. I think he caught it, and it clearly bounces. I think it bounces off of the leather of his pinky, and that is, look, man. I understand that some people are just like, it bounced no matter what you say. That's fine. I hope it did bounce. I wish it did bounce. It would have made for a much less stressful ball game, and it would have made for a really cool moment. I'm gonna give it to you, straight up. Like I'm gonna I'm going to say how I feel on here, and I think he caught it. And I thought he caught it live, and then they showed the replay. And I think more so, my biggest opinion there was just they're not going to reverse the call on the field, right? If you disagree and you're like, no, I definitely think it hit the ground, that's fine. That's your prerogative. I think something that's much more of a gray area that I think more people can agree on is that they weren't going to overturn it. If they ruled that it bounced, you can see it bounce. So I think they probably wouldn't have overturned it if the rule on the field was a trap. But I also think the same thing is true for the opposite, which is what ended up happening. Notice they said stands, I'm pretty sure at least. They said stands and not confirmed. Call on the field stands. Not enough evidence to overturn it, but we're not 100% sure that was the right call either. And I think that's the situation that the Tigers found themselves in there. Heck of a play. I didn't think he was going to get to the ball. The fact that he even trapped it, if that's what you think, is honestly impressive. And now this sets up the first playoff game in the city of Detroit in 10 years. And you have 2 guaranteed baseball games in Comerica Park. No matter what, 2 playoff games in Comerica Park. You know, yesterday's show, I also said we weren't going to score on Clase because you needed to score off the starting pitching to win. When we did the season preview here on Friday's episode, it would have been, I said at the very start of the show, I said we're going to talk a lot of numbers, talk about the type of team Cleveland is, how I think they need to win the series, how I think they need to attack Cleveland in this series. But remember, you throw everything out the window in the playoffs. Anything can happen, including Emmanuel Clase giving up a home run in the 9th inning. I am dumb, and that is exactly why you throw everything out the window. And the reason why I'm dumb, aside from the Kerry Carpenter thing I already apologized for earlier, is that the one thing I forgot is that this team does not care at all about odds. And that's on me. And it's a beautiful thing. I would rather be wrong every single day and have every single person on the planet point and laugh at me for how incorrect I am about the game of baseball and have the Tigers win the World Series. I would make that trade 11 times out of 10. It's a beautiful thing to be wrong and have it result in the Tigers winning a playoff game for the first time. Well, an ALDS game for the first time in 11 years. Throw everything out the window. This team doesn't care about the odds. They don't care about probability. They don't care about what the likelihood you or me or your mother thinks about, the chances that the Tigers are going to win a ball game or do something in a certain situation. They're just going to keep winning. Some fun stats to end the show. This was the first home run Clase has allowed with a lead all season. He only has given up 2 home runs in the entire season. And both of them were when Cleveland was behind. So this is the first home run he's given up with a lead in the calendar year of 2023. It's also the first 3-run homer that Clase has allowed in his entire Major League Baseball career. The first one. It's also the first home run he has allowed off of his slider since 2022. And lastly, it is the hardest hit ball off of Clase in the recorded StatCast era in his entire Major League Baseball career. Skubal has a 0 ERA in the postseason. Clase gave up 3 earned runs today alone in 1 inning of work. Tarik Skubal, your unanimous Cy Young winner. Not that playoffs have anything to do with Cy Young voting. It was just always a ridiculous argument in its own right. And I hate that I even have to be that guy to be like, oh, but because I want to appreciate Clase for how incredible of a closer he is. He is the best reliever on the planet, and they should have no fear going back to him the rest of this series at the end of ball games. And I think he is the most valuable bullpen arm this sport has to offer. Tarik Skubal should win unanimous Cy Young, though. And I hate there was even a narrative out there that made me had to pin us against Clase for that reason. But If it wasn't already clear, now it is. I'll end you with this, a question. I want to know, there was a stat that was brought up at the end of this game from Opta Stats. Kerry Carpenter of the Tigers is the first MLB player, not ALNL, MLB player, today 2-out, 2-strike, go-ahead home run in the 9th inning of a postseason game since Kirk Gibson in Game 1 of the 1988 World Series, the very famous home run, one of the most famous home runs in baseball history. And so the question I have for you to end the show is, this is the biggest home run in Tigers history since when? When was the last Tigers home run that was bigger than the one Kerry Carpenter just hit? That swing was the difference between being down 2-0 in a best of 5 versus 1-1 series, take a game on the road, and now give yourself home field advantage for the last 3 games of the ALDS. Biggest home run in Tigers history since when? What an at-bat all around, man. Fouling pitches off, taking balls out of the zone, working the count, fouling off a slider right before. Clase throws 3 sliders in a row. Kerry Carpenter goes Yabo. The gritty Tigers. Unbelievable, man. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow talking about this back-to-back playoff game baseball that will be played at Comerica Park here on Wednesday and Thursday. I appreciate you all greatly. I'm an idiot, but that's okay. Go Tigers. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. One more for the road. Go Tigers.